Welcome to Kiaorana News, brought to you by Apna Television, and I am your host, Ngai Vamaro, and this is our news this afternoon. Kiaorana, ko tō katotoa, e akarakara mai nei tātātou pia, tiata I te ia awatea, ko au te ko tō teake ko Ngai Vamaro. Te ia tō tātou au nuti I te ia awatea. This is our first news. Te ia tō tātou nuti mua. I te ia manaka I topa, kua ere tō ki te puakapa o te ichitangata maniki. Te tumu, kua rauka mai a rātou te tai kimianga pōpinga. E ia ka pōpinga I tō rātou ichitangata e pērā katoa te ichitangata ko Kiaorana.
Te ia te aka maramanga a te aka ere o te whuinga o niwa.
Ko te ia moe aia ka tupuia, ka re rawenga ko te wangangara te ia te warata. Ka kimi te me tua I te pōpinga nei tāna anau, runga I te tua o te iau e mua me te mai tātou. So I roto I tōku rironga mai e arataka, ua akarakara o te niti o te ichitangata. I te tauturu, no te mea mea rako I roto I te toa, te iau ki ngā kai, te runga ti te rua turu tau tini, te muni o te iau ki ngā kai. So I roto I te iara, ua akaratoi ki te tai matara te kāriro, I te tauturu I te au. Me tua te utamariki, te katoa rawa I roto I te community, wa akara atua girera as a package, e tauturu I tō tātou tākotai o te community. Kia akara momau tu nei au, no te katoa rawa o te community o te kukiarani. Ko nā roto au te au arataki o tō tātou community o te tākotai o te kukiarani, e te kimi atu I te tai au matara, kia rauka te tai au tauturu. E au company te au kua supply na lato I te tai au tuanga te kāriro I tauturu I te tangata I te tuatau I topa ke nei. Me te Salvation Army, wakara I rira lato ki te ia tuatau. I roto I te au community, te tonga te Amua, te Kukiaorana, te VG, te toka rau te niue e te vai atua. Kia ka oki lato I te iau mita ki roto e ia ka pōpinga I te ichitanga. Te ia rā, mataura tōku I te atua. No te mea ko tāku pure te ia I te au rā. I te au rā, te au tuatau topa ki muri. Te atua ka tuera koe I te pā, te ngutupa, no tōra I, no reira te kameta ki nei au, I te au taiaki, te au kamapani te tuku mai te tauturu mata, roto I te ia. No reira, ka rea no ki kone, ka rea kauti ki kone, ka tautau atura. Kia riro e meta ki no tātou kā tōtua te titanga tō tukukia. I roto I te ia pōpongi, ai. Kia karau te ia pōpongi kua ki te au I te tutu mataora o tō tātou I titanga. Akarongorongo nei au e.
Welcome back to our second news. Te e te rua tō tātou nuti I te awatea.
I te ia ngā wiki topa, ko tere atu te New Zealand Commissioner ki te au inua o te pai tokerau I te Kukiaorana. Ko tāpinga atu aia, I tōna tere ki te inua ko pukapuka. Ko āriki I atu aia, e te mema mata o pukapuka, ko ia Tingika Erikana. Pērā katoa, te meia, e te au konitara, e te ichitangata katoa. Ua riro te ia arikianga I te New Zealand Commissioner, e ngākau parauanga no te ichitangata. Ka tai nei, te New Zealand Commissioner, ka tere atu, ki te inua ko pukapuka. Ko tūroi atu, ki roto I te aua pure, ki te ngai, I mātau ia, e te ariki manuiri no wao mai. Pērā katoa, ko uipanga atu aia, ki te au konitara, e te aronga mana o te inua. Ko tere atu aia, ki te api Niua High School, I te arawi I te tamariki api. E kua tere atu aia, I te arawi I te uiariki o te inua. Kua mataora tikai aia, I te ia tere nona. Kua umere katoa aia I te manea o te inua, e te aroa o te ichitangata. Te ia tōna reo, I tuatu atu ki te ichitangata. One day, I will return.
This is our third news. te toru o tō tātou nuti.
I teia e pitoma I topa ake nei, kua totoa te rongo o te Kuki Airani, nā roto I te anganga umire, a teia pupu imene, koia te Samson Squad. Ko peke atu I a rātou tētai tūranga teitei, I te tua o te imene, I te Pacific People Award. Ka taine I teia tūranga, ka tairia I tētai tangata me kāre, tētai putuputuanga. Kuki Airani, ko ronga nui rātou, pera katoa te iti tangata Kuki Airani. Kia tere ua atu rai, te Samson Squad ki mua. Kia tauturu mai, te tua ia koto katotoa. Cook Islands to the world.
Kiaorana, and welcome back to the last part of our program this afternoon. The focus of our program this afternoon will be my journey through life. Kiaorana tātou katoa e akarakara mai nei tātou pia teta I te awatea. Ko te ego toko tūtake ko ngaiva maro. Tō tātou tumu tapura I te awatea. Toku oranga mou. Toku oranga mou. Te atianga, te roka nei aku I te invite mai te guest nā tātou I te awatea. Ko ia mama te purotu ngā lulia. Kia rana koe ngā lulia.
Kiaorana, kia ora, ngā ewa.
Okay. Ka rauka ia koe te takipoto ua mai tō tua. Can you just briefly introduce yourself first? Then after that, you can tell us about your wonderful journey through life.
Okay, atawai wolo. Ko ngā tamariki tōku ingoa, Ruria, e tamaine au nā pāpā Ruria rao ko Tepora, Utarenga. Now ko te ulo te watu, o puka puka tōku wenua. I came and just turning 12, our family came to New Zealand, and that was quite an experience because ko anau I au Rarotonga, then went to Puka Puka and then to Nassau. So 2.5 years each in each place, and then returning to Rarotonga was quite an experience because all I can remember was really just Puka Puka and Nassau, the simplicity of it. The vegetation was just basic really, not a whole lot of, didn't even have cats, dogs or cows. So Rarotonga was like, whoa, we could have ice creams, motorbikes there, and there were some hills, mountains, and big huge trees and a variety of vegetation. So yes, and then coming to New Zealand was on the boat on Moanaroa. Arriving here was a lot of sparkling lights. It was like being in the movies. You know, wow, you know, remembering the movies, there was lights. It was nighttime when we arrived, and also arriving at our home in Mount Eden. It was a little village, actually, because it was a big house, 2-story, and we stayed with my uncle Papai and Auntie Vete, Tai and Ella. There was quite a few people there, and then I remember just going over the deck and gazing, looking out, and there were so many lights. It was just an amazing experience, you know. And so, of course, our Puka Puka community in New Zealand was thriving and growing and settled just around the city, Mount Eden, Kingsland, Honehunga. And there were some in Otara. But, you know, we had activities, cultural activities every year. Christmas and New Year, and we played, tennis mainly, volleyball, cricket, with the main villages of Mount Eden, Kingsland, but and then it's changed to the villages. So I think the longest I've ever been in one place at that time was New Zealand, because I travel quite a bit there. And I think at the age of 17, then we were attending the Mount Eden Church after a brief time with the church in Newton. So around the age of 15 to 17, I was thinking a lot more about the world, about God. In fact, I actually in Wale, Puka Puka, maybe 4 or 5 years old, I was already thinking about God, But at that time, I was thinking more about God, and my relationship with Jesus was really like personal. I tried to live as closely as possible to the words of Jesus, like you therefore must be perfect as your Heavenly Father is. And I tried to live that out, and then whenever I came to church in Mount Eden, I would reach out to the kids, in the Bible, how Jesus loved the kids. And, I was having some spiritual experiences,
Connection.
relationship. And so...
Okay. You mentioned before about the migration of moments that you have started when you left Puka Puka. You've been to Nassau, you've been to Puka Puka, to Rarotonga, and then you came here to New Zealand. You mentioned about the different lifestyle, the different lifestyle, and moving from a slow lifestyle in Nassau, Kiwale, then you came to Raro, it seems different to you. Ki te koe te maunga, more modernized compared to Wale, then you came to New Zealand. It's another story.
Yeah.
You're so overwhelmed, seeing New Zealand compared to Raro. And also you mentioned being religious, put it that way. Ai, mataora koe I tō kiteanga I Yesu, I tō Yesu taime māpua koe I Puka Puka.
Yes, I mean, all we knew, because knowledge was just passed on to us. We know what we know from what we've been told. It's not our discovery, it's just what
because
we've
we are
been
very
told.
religious in the islands.
Yeah, every Sunday everything stands still. No cooking. And I missed the days where you just lie down under the coconut tree and sing and not
respect
having
te tangata I te sapatia, te rera tuatau.
Yeah, you kind of missed that. And then in Rarotonga, it was a bit like that in the beginning, where Sundays were, no work. It was pretty much dedicated for Sunday worship. Now it's just pretty open. But I remember the days.
Tuataua, Hare me te tuatau muara, where everybody, respect the Sundays and you feel the holiness of that day. I te tuatau, ko ngaro te rera, our values and principles are tātou I arua now. Okay, so tō aeromeanga ki kone, ki Aotearoa nei, e atu te tai, what other things that you wanted to do to pursue a good life I New Zealand nei?
Yes. At the age of 17, I met some people that were very active in reaching out and talking about God's family, ideal families, a peaceful world. And I became interested. And but before that, I had travelled to Australia, probably from the age of 14, with my grandfather, Papa Lulia, to meet my biological mother. in Wollongong, and she was the first Pokapokan ever to live in,
settle.
in New Zealand, in Australia. And that was an experience too. Like you going from a small island to Rarotonga to New Zealand, and then Australia. I remember being in the city in Sydney.
Yeah.
It was like a jungle of concrete. You know, it was so big. And then I thought that was big enough. Then I went on to New York maybe in 1980 was the first time.
What was the purpose of going to New York?
New York, yeah. I went, first of all, I think, to a celebration of the founder of our movement, which is Reverend Moon. He was 60 years old then, and also for some training, workshop training, leadership training in New York. And I felt like I was a teenager still. Actually thinking about it now, I was 20, probably around 20, just turning 20.
You know, moving from here to Australia, then to New York, you can see the more advance in technology, in the infrastructure of the countries, the developments. You can see those changes when you come from the islands, then to New Zealand, to Australia. You see that change. It's pretty good. Mataora tikai te ngakau, te kite atu e, kua nāratoko i tia, nāratoko i tia mata, i te experience, i te kite, i te tūranga o te au inua e. So, me roto mai tia tere anga koe, te kite anga koe te au inua e. What you have achieved, me roto i tere o, e a tāu i kite. Te tāu i kite, i opu mai, he akamitaki a koe, i tō oranga.
I was privileged to meet all sorts of people, different cultures in the training workshops that I've gone to, and that itself is learning. Travelling itself is learning, because each time I came back to New Zealand, it was like New Zealand was sort of backwards, like it didn't have all the different cultures. So travelling itself was learning. The
thing, when you travel in those days, compared to now, you can see the diversity of ethnics in those countries like Marike, in the USA, Ragatoya, Australia. Only recently, New Zealand, it's more like the States. The different ethnic in the country. I roto i te tumanako. Ea te au mea tāu i ki te e aka pōpinga, i mō mai koe, a pai mai koe ni, then you think about it, e aka pōpinga i tō orang.
Well, spiritually, that's something dear to me. The family, it's very important, because, good families build good societies or good communities and good nations. So if you don't have good families, then you won't have a good society or nation or world.
Everything starts
from a family.
From home, the family.
But before the family, individuals, good individuals, like, you're together, person that is together, that God is the center of his or her life. If we were all like that, the world will be a better place to live, a peaceful world.
Amen.
And of course, it's all ideal, but still, if Jesus said it's achievable, then we should all try, and not to be selfish and not to be thinking just about ourselves. So, I gave pretty much my youth to doing lay mission work.
Yeah, missionary work.
Yeah, my youth was pretty much that. It was much later that I worked in other jobs, like in the bank.
So which means you have more understanding around the religious side of things, from those travel through the missions that you have been overseas.
Different countries.
It's really amazing. It's really amazing about that. So apart from that, Did you go through education? You know, to actually achieve something like that, to better your life apart from what we shared before,
Yeah.
the religious side of things?
Yes. Well, I didn't do well at school. So after I had my two children, my daughter was maybe 4 years old, then I decided to go back to uni. Just to gain confidence, really.
Yes.
And so I did I completed a degree in social policy, started off as a social worker, but I thought, 4 years, I don't know. And I have too many, problems. Maybe I don't want to take any more problems on. So I switched to social policy. And I completed that in 2004, I think, yeah. Yeah, got a degree there. And so I did management at Waitakere. Forgot now. WEA, Waitakere Education Association. It was like after adult education place here. At the same time, of course, I was getting back into the Pukapuka community because I've been away for some time, but over the years, slowly getting into that. And so, and then eventually I got interested in restorative justice, which is for a process for victims and offenders, just to give justice for the victim and for the offender to apologise if they want to. It's a voluntary process, and I really enjoy doing that.
Okay. Can you tell us more about that? That's your profession now.
Yes, yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yes.
How can you help the youth through that profession you have right now?
Yeah. Well, as a facilitator, I just convene a meeting if it's suitable between offenders and victims.
This is the young people?
No, this is for adults.
Adults.
People referred from the district court.
Yep.
Lay advocate is the other role that I have, that I work with the youth, young offenders and their families.
Yes. Okay.
That's interesting. You get to know the family and their situation and just support them to go along with the programs that's being provided for them. They get a lot of assistance, these young people. Different agencies come together to support them for a plan so they don't reoffend. Unfortunately, many do reoffend, so I have to stick with them.
How the age group o te au tamariki e?
12 to 17 then, but now it's gone to 18. Yeah.
Okay.
The younger ones, 12 to 14, it's they come through the family court, but 14 up to 18, they come through the youth court. Yeah. I just advocate for the family, for the young person from a cultural perspective. Yeah, so that the court or the judge understands their family circumstances or their cultural circumstances. So, and also other professionals or agencies that work with the young person.
Yeah.
So, I get to hear from the family as to how they would like things to happen, and if everything is okay. So really, I'm just there to see whether their needs are being catered for. If not, I would raise the issues with either the social worker, but normally they're all...
And put a report together. And,
that involves that for the judge,
So what percentage is Cook Islanders young people are
there was a
doing
time they were the second highest out of all the other islands. But I think it fluctuates.
Yeah.
There aren't many Cook Islanders now, youth, because I only dealt with the Cook Island youth. Yes.
So the percentage of that what
I think at this time.
That is a really good thing. So I think there's a lot of support I roto to tatou mapu I te tuatau. And hopefully it stays like that.
Yeah.
So, I te tai angangao, te tai angangao i arangi te mai ana.
Yeah.
What do you do in there?
I facilitate. I meet with the offenders separately just to inform them about the process, to familiarise them with the process and the purpose of it, because the purpose is for them to make things right for the victim.
Okay. This is
the
this is-
restorative justice role.
As a facilitator.
As a facilitator, yeah.
Okay.
So it's just to inform them what the purpose and if it's something they would like to do. And then I meet with the victims as well and explain to them the purpose and the process of it. So it's pretty much up to the victim.
This
whether
is
they
in
want to-
court or with the
Outside.
lawyers?
It's a community-
Or
no.
do you involve with the lawyers? No? No. Okay.
Probably in the early days, but it's a process that I prefer not to
So
involve
from
them.
there, from their process, does it go to the court when it's accelerate?
Yeah,
a bit?
no, that whole process is in the community, held outside of
Okay.
the court. It's held before the offender is sentenced. Yes, so it's sort of part of the information that the judge like to have in giving a sentence. Yeah, so that is held in the community. Could be at a church hall or at our office in Remuera. Yeah, so you work with a provider group.
To support their particular client, yeah?
Yeah. The provider group you work through, and then there are other facilitators. You can work with another facilitator. Our group, two facilitators work together. So together we go and meet the offender and their support people. We go and meet the victim with their support people, and then we kind of assess whether it's suitable, whether it's safe for both parties, whether the offender is genuine in his reason to meet the victim, to apologise, and what can they offer in terms of making it right for the victim, restoring the harm that was caused, whether financially or by changing their behaviour in terms of doing some programs to rehabilitate, to make a change. Yeah, words is not enough.
So you got to be with them and facilitate them and go through their process to actually to enable that person to make that change. It's kind of good for them to come up with the plan, but we make suggestions. It's really, we are providing a platform for them to talk in a structured way, a respectful way, and to be honest about it. And it's really to make changes in their behaviour. Is it something that you love to do?
I love it. Yeah, it resonates with me from the very beginning because it's like our culture, or what I learned through my religious life about making things right, restoring the mistakes.
Oh wow, sounds fantastic, fascinating, and overwhelming at the same time. So, e atu te tai anganga tau I rawe I tō orang a pā me te tau e tutua nei.
A lot of little jobs. Being a mother, you kind of have to work around with around your children's programs. So there were many short-term jobs I did. I think my sister-in-law got me into the bank. I manage an adult education centre here in Waitakere. Of course, I've been a committee member on the Pukapuka board. And look, I've met prime ministers, politicians, religious people in my voluntary role in the unification movement or Universal Peace Federation. Just reaching out to them, organising events for people to come together. So
that sounds good. Manea mamanga. Me karuki aku te tutua mai to talk more no runga te ia putuputuanga
Universal Peace Federation.
te putuputuanga Universal Peaceful Federation.
Yeah.
What do they do? Where is the federation from?
It was founded by Reverend and Mrs. Moon, probably 1975, can't remember, so it's an NGO with a consultative status with the United Nations, but our main focus areas are peace building, security, family, and also interreligious, interfaith work. Yes, so we've done a lot of things like bringing a lot of religious people from different
Countries.
religions even to Jerusalem to make peace with the people in that country. So yeah, because it's very hard for Islam and Jewish people to come together. So so I've been involved in that kind of people, and even holding Unity of the Scientists conference for many years. But now it's more the Universal Peace Federation working to bring peace, really, and the focus at this time is the reunification of Korea, because back in the war within Korea, about 16 nations went to the aid of Korea to save it from communism. Unfortunately, it divided between North and South.
Korea.
Yeah, South Korea is democracy and North is communism. Yeah, but I think there's been a whole lot of talk about the two countries coming together. Some people might think it's impossible, but hey, the same thing was said about Berlin Wall, but it did break down. But that was a shorter time, about 30 years. But here, Korea, it's 70 years since the Korean War.
So who are involved in this? You mentioned some before, but what countries that are involved in this peaceful federation?
Well, a lot of...
are there any hierarchy, well-known figures like presidents or...
Yeah, Donald Trump gave a supportive speech. And many other political leaders from Africa, around the world really, and also religious people. And at the moment there's a Pacific Clergy Leadership Conference, drawing all the different religions together to bring about peace. So it's not just about one church or religion.
Yeah, it's everybody coming together.
Yeah, because...
It's more global initiative to come together to...
Yeah, because one of the basic principles of Universal Peace Federation is, under God, we are one human family,
So, is a message going out to the people of this world, though?
Well, we've had many rallies of hope that's been viewed by millions of people. In fact,
I'm just saying that's one thing of sending the message. One thing is viewing. But are the people around the world, though, taking action of creating this peace?
Yeah, well, you just need to see that happening by a lot of young people, even dedicating their marriage for peace, for God. And you will see that if you go on the website of the Universal Peace Federation for World Peace, which is upf.org, and it'll just show you everything. So.
I'm just te tuto atu no te rira, because when you look at around the world right today, it's more problems than peace. So how is this federation, Universal Federation of Peace, it's helping this world to bring peace?
Yeah. Well, first
to
of
the
all, I
people?
think it's through dialogue. You've got to start talking. It's not by weapon or war.
No, no.
It's by dialogue and a common understanding, you know, about the purpose of life, really, of our reason for living. And it's quite basic.
Do they have conferences, oftenly?
Yes.
Probably 2-3 years?
Yes, we do. Yeah, there's there.
Where do they have these? Have they have another one coming up?
Yeah, it's held.
Maybe there are some in the audience who are
Yeah.
keen in this
Yeah.
kind of talk.
Yes, because of COVID, we've been holding online seminars, workshops, just to educate. Yes, and we have big rallies as well that are international. We have local ones. Yeah, because of COVID, you can't really, meet
Not
people.
that-
Well, but we've made effort in
Yes.
doing smaller.
Wariro te maki nei COVID, it's really i te ka māri i te wanga ngā te au putuputuanga me tēnā rai.
Yeah.
Me kāre te au putuputuanga ke. Tano rai, wariro te maki i te tā māri i te aka māri i te au anganga a te au putuputuanga ke i roto i te neo i te aka mātutu, te aka tupu kia tupu te au mānaka nokoanga. O te aura e tū mai nei. I te taopenga i tātau tutua i te awatea, ea tāu tutu aka maruri ki tō tātou ititangata, e akarakara mai nei tā tātou pia teata. Nō runga i te au manako e rā tāo i tutua i te atianga.
Yes, I think from my heart the very important thing is for parents to really get to know your children. Just because you see them each day doesn't mean you know them, especially with teenagers. That's a safeguard for them to not to get into trouble. Build a relationship like you would with somebody that you love. You can't take it for granted they're your children, because if you don't know what they're doing, they're likely to get into trouble, because there's so much out there to influence their thinking, their values. So, yeah, to fight this, I'd say it's a war, really. It's you and the society. If you don't have that friendship and that relationship with your children, the society will lead them, the media will lead them. So please, make the simple things that you didn't think that was important, which is to sit down at the table, have a conversation, and make effort to spend time with them. That's really, really important.
Me taki mata e mamanga, no tēnā tutua mānea e te kiko tāu i tutua mai ki tō tātou i te tangata e akarakara mai nei tā tātou pia teatai te atianga. Ko te tātou ki te aka mutonga o tā tātou porokaramu i te atianga, te rokani aku te aka mitaki, ia kotou e akarakara mai nei tā tātou pia teata, especially ki tā tātou guest mamanga no te akataka mai te atianga ki aere mai ki runga i te porokaramu, i te tutu atu, i te whakawhiti wānanga atu kia tātou, kia kotou, no runga i tōna oranga, her journey through life. Very fascinating, a lot of experience, coming from a small atoll island called Pukapuka to Rarotonga, New Zealand, and travelling around the world. Pera katoa tōna tānei kite i tōna tuatau, i travel i tēnea, e tāna anganga i rawe kone. Māta tāna anganga i rawe, e aka mitaki tō tātou au tamariki, me tāna rai tutu atu ki a tātou. Pera katoa tōna oranga i roto i a Iesu, tō tātou atu. Pera katoa i te kimianga, i te au, i roto i te enea. Nā roto i te putuputuanga e karangaia ko te Universal Peace Federation. No reira, kua irina ki aue, te akarango mai ara koto, te akaro mai ara koto, e te kai mai ara koto i te au tūtua, me meitaki, te i tukuna i atu ki mua e tātou i te awatea. No reira, kua tai tātou ki te akamutuanga, me aku kia koto, ka kite.